Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Good morning and happy Lions game day. We're excited to have you here with us. We are Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, alongside me, Matt Broder.
Hey.
And Terry Foster on a new cam today. Have a new angle of Terry Foster.
Yeah, I got some nice Christmas gear here.
Festive. Yeah. You're ready for the holidays.
I went to Noel night last night.
How was that?
Oh, I had a blast.
It's fun down there, right?
Right. Except DIA kind of they put you in, you get to go in, and they put you in an elevator and you back out.
Really? Why?
They don't want you going through there.
You get one time in, one time out.
You see like a little bit of it, and they put you in an elevator and you go get the exit.
Huh.
Other than that, you got to eat, drink,
Be merry.
The holiday season has come upon us right now.
Lovely.
We made it.
Right.
We're here. It's past December 1st, so maybe it's allowed now to celebrate the holidays, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No, as soon as Thanksgiving hits, you're allowed to celebrate. That's my rule.
Okay. I like that. I agree with that.
Once the turkey's in the oven, get in the holiday spirit, people.
Heck yeah. And we're going to get in the spirit for some Lions football because it is Lions game day. They're not at home. They're headed down to New Orleans. And it seemed like from social media that plenty of Lions fans have already started to take over Bourbon Street watching the Michigan game down there last night. Saw lots of pictures of that. So we're going to get into a little of what's ahead for today's game. This week kicks off the NFL's My Cause, My Cleats initiative, where players have the opportunity to put a cause of their choice on their cleats. Those cleats will then be up for auction after the game, where people can bid for those cleats, and then the proceeds will go to that charity that is on the cleats. Very cool initiative that they're doing, and plenty of Lions players are getting involved. Frank Ragnow wearing cleats to support his foundation. Lots of Lions players with their own foundations and their own charity work, and they're going to be representing those on their cleats
And then Stephanie Spielman, Chris Spielman's wife, who died of cancer. There's a lot of cancer causes this year.
Yeah.
That's Tracy Walker, I believe, is wearing those cleats.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing that. And the only one I know is Brian Branch, American Cancer
Oh, yeah.
Society.
Yeah, and you got Khalil Dorsey, who is Through the Pain clothing company, his own brand supporting mental illness, mental wellness, I should say, mental health. It was cool. They had all the cleats laid out in the media room on Friday, or this past week. It was Wednesday or Thursday, and you could just see the creativity that put into them. Some of them were surprises, but a lot of them, I don't want to say all of them were designed by Vitai's wife, but a lot of them were. Even across the league, there have been other players who sent their cleats into his wife to do the designs. Very cool.
I love that now the coaches and the coordinators and people in the front office are also getting involved and have the opportunity to wear sneakers that are kind of their version of their My Cause, My Cleats, and even ownership is also getting involved. So very cool there. All across the league, lots of fun cleats to look out for this week, and you can also get in on that action at My Cause, My Cleats NFL website, where you can bid on those cleats. I want to know if anyone in the chat is going to potentially, dabble in some bidding there for a good cause.
Yeah.
But we have to get into Lions football because they are looking to turn it around. They lost the last one. They had a rough win before that. So from 1 to 10, what is the urgency level of today's game?
Well, there's two answers to that. There's my urgency level, and then there's the urgency level of the Lions and the urgency level of the Lion fans. Mine is a 4.
Okay.
I don't
Pretty
think
low.
it's that big, but you still got to have a little something there. I think for the Lion fans, it's probably 8 or a 9.
I think so.
No
That's
doubt.
high.
Yeah, it's really high because they haven't seen him play well the last couple of weeks. They're nervous, and you always in the back of your mind, are they going to revert to the old Lions of the past? That's always in the back. It's like a little bug in the back of your head that scares you. But I don't know why I have that much faith in them. I just think they're going to bounce back today. And I said that last week. But I just think this team is different. And I don't think the road scares them. In fact, and this is not same as Jared Goff has been better on the road the last month than he's been at home.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
It was reversed the rest of the season.
But that's scary, though, because home has been awful. But I have to believe they've had 10 days to figure this thing out. They know what their deficiencies are. I think the Lions in the past have just said, hey, we're just going to work hard, we'll be fine, and blah, blah, blah. But I think now they're going to pinpoint deficient areas. They're going to pinpoint Jared Goff taking care of the ball. That's the number one thing.
It has to be.
Offensive line and Jared Goff not giving up the pill. And I think they'll work on that and they'll correct that.
You see, they've been working on it in practice. You've seen some clips go around of all the quarterbacks doing the possession drills.
Yeah.
You got all the coaches trying to punch the ball out as they're doing their quarterback drills. It's something they're definitely refocusing on.
What do you think Jared Goff's urgency level is today, Matt, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Getting to see Jared Goff a little more this year, to him it's probably a 6. He's probably he's been very calm and collected. I'm putting 6 because it's a little above 5. He realizes he's made some mistakes.
A little bit above 5?
Yeah, once now, less than 7, more than 5.5.
Okay.
Jared Goff, he's very calm. I think he realizes he needs to raise his level of play. He realizes that these last 2 games, the last 2 games, he played great against the Chargers 3 games ago, but these last 2 games, he's dropped the ball. He's thrown it away. He's really given the other teams a chance to stay in the game with their defense, which is something the Lions can't afford with some of our defensive struggles, even though our defense has answered the bell most of the time these last couple games. He's got to take care of the ball. So I think it's a little more urgent than just it's just another game. But Jared Goff, he's pretty calm. He realizes he just needs to get back to playing how he was before.
I wonder if externally he's coming off a little bit more lower on that scale, but internally maybe it's firing up a bit.
That could be very true.
Yeah, but
We'll never
if you're
know.
a pro athlete, you can't be panicky. I mean, when everybody with the world's on fire and everything, you got to be like this, like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take care of business because
Yeah.
you have to have the ice water in your veins. If you don't, then you're going to be up and down, up and down, up and down, and ultimately that's not going to lead to anything positive. Now, I wish I had thought of this earlier, but the Lions should have done the Full Metal Jacket drill with Jared Goff.
What's that?
Now, did you see the movie Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
They the little guy that they didn't like, they put soap in socks and hit him with it. So what they should have done is put some bars of soap in some tube socks and hit Jared Goff on the hands.
Get
I
him
mean,
used
they're
to-
not trying to hurt him.
They just don't want him to fumble. Want to toughen those hands up.
I think I'll stick with whatever those
You need to watch the movie.
soft things are that they hit them with.
All right.
Protect his hands. They want to, test him, but not hurt him.
But I know. I'm just saying that might work. May toughen them up a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, some weirder things have happened. You got to find the drills out of the ordinary to get your players right sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, out of the ordinary for sure. Speaking of Jared Goff, I want to know who you have the most faith in to lead the Lions on a turnaround. Is it Goff? Is it the offensive line? Or is it Aaron Glenn and his defense?
I'm going to go Goff in the offensive line. There is a flaw with the Lions defense you're not going to be able to correct this year because they didn't get Jalen Carter. They didn't pick up a like Chase Young or anybody during the trade deadline. Now what they're getting is they're picking up scraps. They're picking up guys who are 34, 35 years old, and they're not going to be able to turn it around. So I think the Lions' fate at defense has already been settled because they didn't pick up guys. But the Lions' offensive line, I always have faith in that.
Yeah.
That is the backbone of the team.
For sure.
I love Brian Branch and Amon-Ra St. Brown and all these other guys. But bottom line, that offensive line, when it's rolling, this team rolls.
This is the week. Wouldn't it have been cool to be like a fly on the wall in the offensive line meeting rooms this week? They struggled last week, but they've been great for a very large sample size with those guys like Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow. I imagine it was a very focused week of practice in the film room and getting ready for this game. They know they want to come out and dominate this game, especially in the run where New Orleans has struggled. What they do need to worry about is protecting Goff and some of the young pass rushers. Actually, one really old and one really young pass rusher that the Saints have on their roster.
Ali McNeil was on 20 Men in the Huddle podcast this week, and he kind of said, you're sitting there and you're waiting because they played on Thursday, and then they have to wait and wait and wait, and they kind of all know what's looming. It seemed like they knew all the stuff that they did wrong, and they knew that they had to wait to get into that room and hear all the stuff that they did wrong. So that period of like contention between the game and then back into the facility was looming for that offensive line.
Yeah, normally they can get back to practice the next day or film room the next day just to get air everything out with their coaches and their line mates. But, I think it was Graham Glasgow.
Sometimes it's good to wait. Sometimes it's good to get those ants in your pants.
True.
Because you get antsy, you get revved up and everything, and you just can't fire off in 7 days. You got to wait till 10. The other great thing is you get healthier. So this, I like these little 10-day breaks for the Lions.
Yeah, It looks like Jonah Jackson's going to play. He's healed up from a wrist injury, ankle injury earlier in the season. It looks like he's going to be ready to play. That offensive line might be, with Graham Glasgow in there for Vitae, might be fully healthy for another game that they haven't been since the Chargers game.
All of them back together, and I do want to get more into Jackson in the next segment. But I have to know, Lions fans traveling down to New Orleans, we kind of talked about their confidence level. Do you think that they're still going to be as loud and take over down in New Orleans as they have been on the road recently? Are they a little bit scorned right now?
Well, they're in New Orleans. They got drunk last night. They'll get drunk today. They'll be revved up. So I think if you actually went down there and spent money and you were rolling around on Bourbon Street, you're going to be revved up. Lions could be 2-11, and they still gonna be jacked up. So I think the Lions fans are gonna be really jacked up today.
Yeah, they're gonna fill that stadium. I think this is one of those they've been looking forward to. Everyone knows the Superdome and the difference that the crowd can make for the Saints. This Lions team, these Lions fans have been traveling well this season. This is one they're not gonna take. They're not taking this weekend off. I can tell you that.
Heck no.
No.
Not at all. And we're not taking off, so you'll see us in the next segment. Stick with us. This is Woodward and Main Street, brought to you by Les Stanford.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Good morning, happy Lions game day, and welcome back to another episode of Woodward and Main Street. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips. Alongside me, Matt Broder.
Good morning.
Terry Foster. Gentlemen, how's your morning going so far?
Fantastic. Yeah, it's Lions game. We waited 10 days for this. I can't wait for this game to get started.
Ages.
I'm glad it's a 1 o'clock game. I'm ready to go.
I think Dan Campbell is probably glad it's a 1 o'clock game too. He seems to emphasize that anytime game times are brought up. Obviously, that Denver Broncos game has been flexed now to a Saturday night game.
True.
And he made it known, yes, I prefer the 1 o'clock game on Sunday, which most people are gunning for that prime time, and he's like, nope, give us 1 o'clock on Sunday and we'll love that.
I think from talking to Lions fans, they prefer the 1 o'clock Sunday because they get confused. They're like, oh, it's 1 o'clock Sunday, where's my team? Oh, that's right, they play Thursday.
Yeah.
They're going to play next Monday or something like that. So they get confused because the Lions have been a 1 o'clock Sunday game for so long that when they switch them and flex them and do whatever they do, then the Lion fans are like, what's happening here?
Yeah. They're like Pavlov's dogs. At 1 o'clock comes along on Sunday, their mouths start watering. It's time to play football. Waiting till a later game.
That's a good reference.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
Psychology.
Terry, because we always had to know, what did you do on your Sunday game day since the Lions weren't playing?
I just watched football in my basement. So, yeah, I just chilled out, watched the games, and did the little what's the little where they have all the games?
Is it Red Zone? Or
Red Zone, yeah.
YouTube TV has a new multi-view screen where you can play all the games that are on four different corners of the TV. It's
Well,
cool.
I'm not all that sophisticated, so I just did the Red Zone.
All right.
Nice. Love it. What did you do? Did you watch any specific games, Matt?
Honestly, it seems so long ago. What was the big game last week? It was Eagles, Bills. I don't know, you can't remember if that was Sunday or Monday, but I watch football too. Usually when we're working on Sunday, if we're in the press box, all we can really watch is the Lions game. And then for the next block of time where the next games start, we're down in the press conference room in the locker room talking to the players. So we miss a lot of the games, a lot of the football games, maybe Sunday night or Monday night we can watch. So I just watched a lot of the 1 o'clock, the 4 o'clock games. It was fun.
Soaked it in.
Spent some
Able
time
to
on my
enjoy
couch.
some Sunday football on the couch.
Yeah.
Nothing beats that, right?
Now, I'm doing something today
Really?
that shows how far the Lions have come.
Okay.
I am watching the Lions game and the Pittsburgh Steelers game with a friend of mine who he did what a lot of Lion fans did. He got a second team. So it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he also wants to watch the Lions now. It used to be on Sunday he would just watch the Steelers game and ignore the Lions. Today he's agreed to watch the Lions and the Steelers.
Wow. Turning a corner.
Steelers are making a run.
But you know, in this town you had to get a second team.
You really did.
Yeah.
But you know what? All of the energy has to go to the Lions now because they're making a run and they have to stay ahead of the Vikings. So let's get into it. And looking at the roster for today's game, Alex Anzalone. The white guy with blonde hair is out today, Terry. What does that mean for the Lions? Is Jack Campbell going to step up to the plate?
That's trouble because the white guy without the blonde hair, I don't want to call him atrocious, but he's not as good. He's a rookie. He's learning. So that worries me. But the other thing about the Lions, I got to give them credit. When they have a rash of injuries, they mask them. And they somehow get through. I have a philosophy in sports that just might be mine. If you're missing someone that's important, you can survive that for a game or two. But if he's gone 3, 4, 5 games, then that's when you run into trouble. Like, for instance, the Lions, when their offensive line was banged up, for a game or a series, or they weren't that bad.
Yeah.
Lions' offensive line actually got into trouble when they were all healthy.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do with themselves. They've been compensating for people being out.
Yes. Damn, I don't hurt today. What am I going to do?
It's a new feeling. But Anzalone's a big loss, especially the leadership that he brings onto that field. He wears the green dot normally, which means he's usually that one communicating with the rest of the defense. And although Aaron Glenn downplayed it in his press conferences this week, actually it was Kelvin Shepard who downplayed it a little bit. The green dot, you're just delivering what we're telling you. You're repeating what you're hearing in the mic. There is a little bit more to it, and that role goes to Jack Campbell during this game.
Yeah.
Something he's gained a little bit of experience with, filling in for Anzalone, who's played about 95% of the snaps on defense this year, so it hasn't been a ton. But they've been working with Jack Campbell a lot to get him to this point. This is why they drafted him at number 18, to go in and be a difference maker in a game where they need him. And this seems like one of those Jack Campbell type games. We got Alvin Kamara. We have an injury-riddled wide receiver group, which means that Alvin Kamara, their star running back, Taysom Hill, their star tight end, they're going to be two guys that I believe the New Orleans Saints are going to use. And it's going to be a lot of Jack Campbell, whether it's defending the run or picking up one of those guys out of the backfield. It's not an easy task. Those are two of the best playmakers in their own type of way. Taysom Hill, I think he's the only one in the NFL who's had a touchdown pass, reception, and rushing touchdown on the season.
You are correct.
And Kamara can do it all too. So you gotta be weary of them out of the backfield. This is Jack Campbell's game.
But
time for him to step up.
they've narrowed down who the ball could be going to with the loss of a couple of their receivers. And Dan Campbell also spoke to that earlier this week with Jack Campbell taking the green dot. What does this mean for him? But he said that they've always had this plan for Jack Campbell. This was who they wanted Jack Campbell to be when they drafted him so high. And now we're gonna see how that plays out. But I do have to say, you have to remember he's a rookie. How many years has Alex Anzalone been in the NFL?
5, 6, 7.
Exactly.
Right. So that's a big difference right there.
Yes.
But you know what? We have an impatient sports society.
We do.
Of course.
We think rookies should come in and just do this, and it doesn't happen like that. When I was growing up, when I was your age, every rookie quarterback threw for more interceptions than touchdown passes. It didn't matter who you were.
Peyton Manning.
That was just the deal. Now we're expecting more of them, but and maybe in Green Bay with Love they did it the right way. You sit them, you train him, you let him learn from the incumbent quarterback, even though the incumbent quarterback didn't really want to share things with him. But maybe that's the way to do it. We don't do that anymore.
No.
Maybe we'll see the Lions do that with Hendon Hooker, as we've seen. He has joined the roster. He's back. He's off of injured reserve. He's practicing with the team. Do you think that they're going to take that approach with him?
Yeah, they have no other choice. He should have been a first-round draft pick, but he wasn't because of injuries. But in this town, you're starting some mess over there, girl. Gotta be careful. When you start mentioning the backup quarterback, at some point there's going to be a groundswell. Want Hendon Hooker over Jared Goff.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to happen.
There's a big difference in the contracts that Jared Goff is going to be wanting and what Hendon Hooker is going to be getting for the next 3 years after this. So that's where the conversation starts. This year is totally sit behind Goff and Bridgewater and learn from those guys, learn the offense.
Can't forget about Bridgewater.
Definitely. He's the one. If anything happens to Goff, just so everyone knows, Bridgewater is the next quarterback in. They're not going to Hendon Hooker. Not quite yet. We'll see if later in the season they use him as that emergency third quarterback, but I think he's redshirting this year and we don't see him on the field. But he's now on that active roster. He's getting real valuable practice reps with his teammates, with guys he might be throwing to in the future. So we'll see. He seems like a great kid, a great man, 25, 26-year-old man who really understands the path. And he's got guys like J.T. Barrett, the assistant quarterbacks coach, and Teddy Bridgewater, who both have suffered pretty serious leg injuries, have helped him come back from this ACL. That's got to be tough as a rookie coming into the NFL and having to sit and just watch. You want to get out there.
The Lions told us this is going to be his redshirt year.
Yeah.
And one thing about the Lions, they don't rush.
No.
When they say they're going to do something, they do it. They're not going to put this guy out on the field, no matter what pressure they get from the media or the fans or whatever. They said, we redshirting him. We're serious.
Yeah.
We will see him next year. So don't get all excited people out there like, okay, Hendon Hooker, he practices, so he's going to be out there. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
study your organization.
Yeah, he will provide a little bit in practice in terms of helping the team win in the future. Dealing with some mobile quarterbacks, just as a scout team look, he's able to elude the pocket better than any of the quarterbacks on the roster. Definitely better than our boy Jared Goff. So he can provide some valuable reps in practice for the defense too. So it's all factoring in, and they got a lot of decisions to make in the future. But like you said, don't expect to see Hendon Hooker.
I'm sorry, young man. I thought you said Jared Goff was mobile.
No,
not mobile.
He's got decent pocket mobility.
Week, yeah.
The pocket mobility.
Decent pocket mobility. Not elite, but decent pocket.
Very
it hasn't
small
looked good.
space.
I had to defend myself. It hasn't looked good the last 2 weeks. Don't get me wrong.
That means when he's in the pocket, they don't immediately blast him. It
Because
takes him
it's
2
very good
seconds
offensive
to blast
line.
him.
But he's got a good feel for when the pressure's coming. He can sneak out, move, take a step up a little bit. He didn't show it in the last 2 games. He looked pretty rough.
I want to move to another player on the Lions roster that we kind of touched on earlier, Jonah Jackson.
Ooh.
How valuable is he on the field?
I think it's huge. Tara, I'm curious what you think, but I think he makes such a difference, especially in their rush offense, and whether it's David Montgomery running between the tackles or Jahmyr Gibbs doing everything he does. Jonah Jackson's massive, playing that left guard spot. He fits well in there between Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow, and they play better when he's out there. He's a great run blocker, a good a good pass blocker, pass protector, but he's huge out in the field. I'm curious to see, coming back from an injury, what that affects, how serious this injury was. But before we get to that, I'll ask Terry.
Yeah.
What do you think his impact is?
You know, it's a great impact, and we don't talk about offensive guards, right? But with Jonah Jackson, and maybe this is a coincidence, or maybe not, they rush for 150 yards a game when he starts. When he's not out there, it's 116 yards a game.
It's a big difference.
Huge difference. So, yes, we should talk about Jonah Jackson is very important. And, Dan Campbell said this offensive line is the backbone of this team. Jonah Jackson plays a huge role. When you think of offensive line, we think of Penei Sewell. We don't think about the guards.
Right.
But it's huge. I mean, look, Sorsdale got benched.
It was a tough one. It was a rough one against the Packers for that left guard position.
He was a turnstile. They had him spinning around and saying, "Get out of here, son."
Yeah.
But you don't do that with Jonah Jackson.
No, you don't. And that's why Brad Holmes has got some serious decisions to make, not just with Jonah Jackson, but all ties together. Jared Goff's contract, Penei Sewell coming up, Amon-Ra St. Brown likely getting an extension next year. Jonah Jackson's contract's up. His rookie contract is up at the end of this year. So he's got to make some decisions. He's not going to reset the guard market, I don't believe, but he's going to be one of the higher paid guards in the league. Is Brad Holmes going to be able to fandangle the money to make that happen with the rest of their offensive line? Does that require Jared Goff taking less? What do you do? These are just hypotheticals, but what do you do with that Jonah Jackson situation?
Now, Matt, I know you had kind of questions.
Conspiracy theories.
With this injury, was it an injury? Did he kind of drag it out with his contracts looming? Is he trying to give them a taste of, what life could be like without him? Is he playing like the toxic boyfriend here?
Yeah. Could it be like a little mid-season injury holdout in the middle of the season without saying too much? I personally don't think so, but once it got into my head, I was like, it kind of makes. I mean, you don't want to rush back from an injury anyway. Sitting in that Packers game probably earned him a few $1 million more per year, realizing how important he is to that team. So could that have any impact on it? Terry, have you seen something like that before? What do you think?
Here's what I think. We don't like to believe that guys on the teams that we cover or follow would do something like that.
Yeah.
But they do. It's like they got agents talking to them. They got the NFL Players Association talking to them. They got their body talking to them. So it might not be a mid-season holdout. Look what you're missing. If you don't have me, don't forget to pay me thing. But then again, it could.
Do you guys read in at all to the comments Dan Campbell had when he was asked about Jonah Jackson's injury, I think at the beginning of the week, and he gave a response like, Jonah Jackson will play when he tells me he can play. It was a little more sassy of a response than you normally get from Dan Campbell. I might be reading into this a little too much, but it wasn't the answer I expected. Jonah Jackson's he is a great teammate, and I don't want to spread anything that makes him come off as a bad guy. And he's not at all. But could there be a little bit of that mixed into
actually? You're not
injury?
reading too much into that. That's probably exactly what it is. The NFL in particular has this long history of coaches and trainers thinking these players can play, and the players say, "No, I'm not ready." And so there's that give and take. I'm going to take the side of the player most of the time because they know their bodies.
Yeah.
And this is a violent game. And if you want to sit a game out because you don't feel 100%, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think the coaches and trainers a lot of times are unfair. They're like, get your ass out there.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
Their contract's not guaranteed. I also agree. You make the final decision, player.
His response kind of had the same taste as the Bugs' responses to me.
That's a good comparison, yeah.
Just a little bit of the same flavor. And we saw what was going on there, or we didn't see what was going on there. We can infer what was going on there.
Yeah, there's something going on with Bugs we don't know about. How many times can you be ill and not play?
Yeah.
There's a bug going around or something for one guy.
I see what
Come
you
on
did there.
now.
That was unintentional, I think, but
yeah, there's a bug going around only with bugs.
Yeah, you need to be too sick with it.
I have one more player that I want us to cover in this segment.
Gotcha.
Where does Rodrigo's value lie on this team? How high up on that list should he be as a fullback, linebacker, and special teams player?
I want to hear your answer first, Terry.
I'm going to say not very high. I mean, he does a lot of things, but he doesn't do them well.
Okay.
So who cares if he's a jack of all trades? They can survive without him. You know, Rodrigo got on our radar because he's a try-hard guy. He's a guy that's, I'm going to do anything you ask me to do, and coaches love that. Even though he may not be that good at doing anything, I think he's a decent linebacker, and I'm sure if you put him at fullback, he's on blast whoever you tell him to. So he's a guy that I'll do anything for the team, and coaches love that. And a lot of times coaches make the mistake of forgetting that the talent level is there, not there. But I told him to do something, and he didn't bitch at me.
Yeah.
So that's my guy.
Yeah. And you see his base salary this year, $870,000, which is a nice amount of money, but he'd be the 8th highest paid linebacker on the team, the lowest paid running back on the team. He makes less than your kicker and your punter. So that's one guy that takes up 3 roster spots, or I shouldn't say takes up 3 roster spots, opens up 2 other roster spots for Brad Holmes to fill with other positions,
Great way to
other
position that.
things of need. Yeah. He would be higher up on my most valuable list of Lions if Brad Holmes has maximized those other 2 roster spots, which I don't think he has, as many of us would have liked him to at the trade deadline or hitting on one of the wide receivers this offseason. So he hasn't maximized the roster yet, but what that means, what a guy like Malcolm can do if he continues playing this jack-of-all-trade type of role, that can really help your team out in the future in terms of just team building, filling some of those weaker spots, adding some more depth to those weaker spots because he can do so many different things. But he's there right in the middle. He's been while getting less snaps on defense at linebacker, he's been a pleasant surprise being able to contribute on offense and be a very good, if not their best, special teams player.
Kind of getting into what Terry said, you said like he is that player that is 100% I'm all in, doesn't complain, puts in the work, and coaches love that. But as Lions fans, we wouldn't have seen that if it wasn't for Hard Knocks. And I don't think he would have gained that value from the fans if it weren't for Hard Knocks, because you're not getting that inside look into those rookies like you were last year. So do you think that's playing a little bit in his stock with the team, how much the fans have jumped on his bandwagon over the last year and really supported him and his rookie journey in the NFL?
Yeah, absolutely. When you get to know somebody, you are more interested in their story. You're able to you embrace more of what they're all about because you know the guy. He's not just a guy behind the helmet. He's Rodrigo for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So that's my buddy.
Yeah.
That's my guy. So I think that's what happens with fans, and he's embraced the community, and the community's embraced him.
For sure.
Mostly because of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. I think with fans, 100%, it's raised the stock. I think in the building, it made no difference. They would get to see what we saw every single day, and what we saw is everything I've witnessed from Malcolm Rodriguez, from Rodrigo. Just that type of personality, that type of energy. It's an amazing kid, an amazing guy to have in that linebacker room and on that team. He's a Dan Campbell guy. I know we overuse that term, but he's right there. He's right there.
I don't know if we've overused it recently, to be honest. There's been so many good things to talk about from the Lions that you're not needing exactly to always talk about the personalities of the teams matching the
draft is coming in a couple months. We're gonna start hearing it again.
That was like every third word out of my mouth was Dan Campbell guy.
We're looking for Rodrigo's replacement in the draft.
Maybe.
Someone's
got to play 3 positions.
That's true.
That makes his value to the team that much better.
We're going to take a look at the receivers when we get back here. Stick with us as we get ready for the Lions in New Orleans.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder. Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Woodward and Main Street. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, alongside me Matt Broder and Terry Foster to kick off your Lions game day the right way as the Lions Insider Show, brought to you by Les Stanford. So thanks so much, Les Stanford, for making this show possible. They're fantastic down there. We appreciate them. And we're going to get into some receiver talk. We're going to check in with the wide receiver room, see how they're doing. I want to get your thoughts on a couple things.
Yeah.
So, Amon-Ra St. Brown was fined $43,000 this last week. And J.J. Watt had some thoughts about that. He said, and I quote, "This is stealing money." Do you agree?
I do agree. I'm trying to figure out what he did wrong. They said he led with his helmet. Mm-hmm. That looked like a typical block. Plus, he got smacked in the head before the block. I don't see anything wrong with that block. In fact, I tell you what, I've seen that block 100 times before in this league.
Yeah.
And then, there's no penalty. There's nobody looking like, hey, what did you just do? I'm going to kick your ass for doing that to my guy. It was none of that.
They both walked away and
Right.
called it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm sure St. Brown was just as surprised as anybody that I got fined for that.
Yeah.
Even the players from other teams are like, okay, that's wrong.
Yeah. And what I don't get, and I haven't figured out why they haven't adjusted this, like a scale per the player's salary or something, because he got fined over $43,000. His game check, his pre-tax game check, is $55,000. So although, yes, that's a lot of money, he's basically giving that all away, if not coming in the red. There's a difference there after the check, after he pays his taxes. So he's basically just played that game for free.
Do you know what he did? When you have youth sports, you pay to play.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, for that game,
Paid to
play. He said,
That is a good
hey
one,
guys,
Terry.
I want to play in this game. How much does it cost? Okay, whatever. Here, it costs $40,000 to play in this game. Here you go.
How crazy is that?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
He's
And
only
even though
making-
he did say, this is just a fraction of what I make.
No, he said that in a way that it seemed like it was a modest way of saying, I understand that I still make a lot of money. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, although it's a lot of money still to most people, he doesn't make a lot of money considering how good he is, how valuable he's been to the Lions. His base salary of $940,000 a year comes in at the 145th ranked wide receiver in the NFL and 1,315th in the entire NFL, when his market value is in the $25-26 million range. So it's like 5% of his salary is that $43,000 game check. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's
But
a lot
I
of
think
money.
he's conscious that there's people out there struggling.
Yeah.
People-
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's
Because
like,
he's a
I don't
Dan
want to
Campbell
make
guy.
a huge deal out of this. Yeah, I'm pissed, but I know there's other people struggling, and so my whole thing isn't dire, and it's I'm gonna survive this. I'm still getting paid. I live in a nice house. I still drive a car, and I can eat beef on the weekends or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
People forget J-Mo makes more this year than Amon-Ra St. Brown does through the entirety of his rookie contract. That's a thought. Think about that. I love J-Mo. We're about to talk about him too.
I got one word for that.
What?
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Well, he's going to get
words
paid.
from
This
my
is
mouth.
part of the decision making that Brett Holmes has to do this offseason, because he's finishing year 3. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was drafted in the 4th round, so he doesn't have that 5th year rookie contract or rookie option on his contract. So this is payday. This is going to be payoff season for him, and he's earned it.
I think we're going to learn a lot about Brad Holmes in this offseason, because we've seen what he's been able to do in the draft. Okay, now what are you going to do with those great draft picks come time for contract negotiations? So this is going to be telling as to what Brad Holmes is going to be for the future of the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah.
We're reaching the second stage with the Lions. Right now, everybody loves each other. There's kumbaya out there. But now Brad Holmes has got to make some tough decisions. they're trying to do it bargain basement because these guys are so young and they can. What's the thing we say about Brad Holmes? Oh, he got him for such a steal. Well, those days are coming to an end.
Yeah.
So now he's got to decide who am I going to pay, who am I not going to pay, and blah, blah, blah. And it reminds me, the Lions had to make those decisions when Barry Sanders was playing. That's why he left. Part of the reason he left the Lions is because the Lions made decisions not to pay certain guys that protected Barry, like Kevin Glover and Lomas Brown. And so they left, but they decided to pay quarterback Scott Mitchell, who played 7 great games or good games with the Miami Dolphins. So that caused friction. So at some point, this team who's everybody's embracing each other and we love each other, blah, blah. At some point, somebody's going to be pissed at Brad Holmes. They're going to be mad at teammates. So this is the tough part about being a very good organization.
Yeah. Yeah. So I say you pay Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell because those are the guys that can control that locker room. They're the tough. They got the attitude. They know how to keep a locker room in check. Pay the man.
Pay the man. Another man I want to talk about, Jameson Williams. How are we feeling about him? I want to take like a temperature check in the room. The coaching staff seems to be all in with him, have so many positive things to say about him and how they're going to continue to grow in their utilization of him throughout the games. How are you guys feeling about him right now?
I want to see more. I want to see more, but I think now we've reached a stage where their comfort level is getting there. Coaches and teammates, they're not just talking about, he's a good blocker. That's kind of like saying, I got a blind date for you. She's got a nice personality. That means the girl is ugly. So what they're saying about J-Mo is when they say, he's really blocking, what they're trying to sell you on is, well, he's not really a good wide receiver right now. So, but now they're talking like he's more of one of the guys, that he's learning more. This is the talk I wanted to hear about J-Mo at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear it because it wasn't there. Now I think we've reached the stage where, because of his speed, because of his talent, at some point, I don't know when it is, he's going to have a breakout game.
How about today? They're a little shorthanded in that secondary.
Could be. So one game, this dude's going to have 7-8 catches, 150 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it come this year or does it come next year?
I don't know.
It's going to happen.
He hasn't caught more than 2 in a game this year. I do feel like it's coming. They're working his way into this offense more and more. And the little initiation period of him blocking well and doing the little things that wide receivers, they are important, and especially they're endearing to your teammates. They show it's part of becoming the guys. He's putting in his work, and now he's starting to get the ball a little more. And I think all this confidence jumbled up, it's going to come to fruition here soon. I love seeing that little crossing route he did. I believe it was in the Packers game where they hit him in stride coming across the middle, and he almost broke free, but he gained a few yards there. It just seemed like he was more in rhythm, and that's what I want to see, not just the deep passes.
You know who was a very, very good blocker, but you never heard it? Calvin Johnson. He blocked his ass off.
Interesting.
But you didn't hear coaches say, oh, Calvin, hey, did you see the block? No, because they knew he was a great wide receiver, so they didn't have to talk about his blocking.
True.
With J-Mo, the fact that he's not a good wide receiver now, you got to say, well, you saw him blocking, didn't you? Yeah, he's out there trying hard. That's because you got to find something positive to say about a teammate all the time.
That's not a bad example. That's not bad. So maybe this week is his game. And now, Matt, I do have to check in with you on another item on our list, because we've been talking a lot week after week about the Lions having a full performance game on both sides of the ball. Ooh. And I ask you almost every week, is this going to be the game that you see the Lions play a full game of football?
It's got potential. I think it is coming this week. I think Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, this coaching staff, their connections to New Orleans, how kind of bad they played against the Packers, I think all that combined adds into at least the mental energy to come out and have a good game. Then you match that up with the Saints, who are inconsistent this year. They struggle. Their run defense is not very good. That's a strength of the Lions. They've had, I think, a 200-yard rusher in 3 games this season. The offensive line's healthy. We're talking about that. They do have very good edge rushers. Cam Jordan, he's banged up a little. I think he might be questionable for this game. I know he's a talented player. Also, Carl Granderson, one of their young players, their young ends, he's going to be going up against Taylor Decker. He's been a pleasant surprise for the New Orleans. Just continues to get better for that team. And that secondary, although they're missing some players, I believe their linebacker, Pete Warner, he's out with an oblique injury. Wide receiver Rashid Shaheed's out, so one of their playmakers on offense. But Marshawn Lattimore, one of their top defensive players, he's out too. So it falls into Tyrann Mathieu, one of their safeties, and Paulson Adebo, who's a really good cornerback. He's been playing really well for the Saints. Other than those two, there's some weaknesses there for that team. So it could be one of those times where Jared Goff spreads the ball around again. The offense gets back in rhythm. And then on defense, they're able to make it difficult for Derek Carr without some of these weapons.
You know what else helps the Lions? Believe it or not? Being on the road.
That is very true.
The house is burning, and the house has been burning here because there's doubts. Sometimes it's great to get on the road because
Stop, drop, and roll.
Huh?
Stop, drop, and roll.
Right. It's us against the world mentality. The same things your boys at Michigan have had. So that's a good thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Because now you need to get away from the noise.
Yeah. How about this? This is a big, not breaking news, but this is a big moment. Their kicker, Blake Group A, he's questionable for the game. This could be a big, we're talking about a kicker here, but this could be a big injury. The red zone.
You got me all excited there, pal.
I know. I'm teasing
No
a kicker.
kicker.
I'm
ready.
teasing a kicker, but last week, they kicked 5 field goals in the red zone. The New Orleans Saints have been one of the worst red zone offenses in the league, despite weapons like Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. So the kicker, this guy Blake, kicked 5 field goals last week in the red zone, 2 the week before. The Detroit Lions kicked 0 field goals in the red zone in the last 2 weeks. So there's going to be a red zone battle, both on offense and defense for both teams. I think if their kicker's not available or not at full strength, who knows what their offensive strategy might change. This is where the Lions, that defense, hopefully they get pressure on Derek Carr, but shutting down that run, shutting down Alvin Kamara is going to be huge, both in the red zone and out.
You know what there, Young Buck? There's one thing you need to look for today to see if the Lions are going to be for real or jive. If they give up another first possession touchdown,
Good call.
then they're in trouble.
Good call. Terry, if you win the toss, if you're the Lions, if you're Dan Campbell, are you receiving the ball? Are you choosing to receive or deferring and getting the ball in the second half? Like traditionally coaches have started to do in the last decade or two. Should the Lions just try to get the ball in their hands first?
Conventional wisdom says yes, but I'm a stubborn old bastard. I'm going to say no because you're curious. Is my defense stout? I want to know. Just let me know. Are y'all ready to play today?
So almost the reverse. Because they've struggled, throw them out there again. You guys need to prove that you can stop a team on their first drive. It's a high-powered offense that could do that on that first drive.
So that team stopped picking to choose that against the Lions.
Yeah.
Show me. Because if that defense is ready to play, you know what you can do in that first drive? 3 and out, and then you win the field position war right off the bat.
Boom.
And then don't give it up the rest of the game.
Exactly.
And then you're good.
We are going to get into our pessimistic, our optimistic, and then those game score predictions for the Lions at Saints today. So stick with us in the next segment.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Welcome back into another episode of Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips. Alongside me, Matt Broder and Mr. Terry Foster. We're kicking up Lions Game Day.
I
oh, man.
There's something wrong with my contacts today.
Oh, man.
I looked at your feet. I thought, damn, Gabby's ready for the Lions to start playing. I thought you were wearing cleats.
Oh, no. I mean, they're pretty good-looking shoes, though, hey?
Yeah, I'm like, why is my girl wearing cleats today?
She's ready. She slept in them. She got her jersey on under it.
I was actually surprised. I was actually ready to jump into the FSU game in case the third string quarterback went out. So my cleats are
you
so
knew the
on.
Lions needed a blonde linebacker to fill in today.
That's right.
Exactly. The long blonde hair coming out the helmet.
Put me in, coach.
You won't be able to tell if it's me out there instead of Anzalone.
Yeah.
Well, you do need to gain 100 pounds.
That's true.
Maybe grow a few inches too. I think he's a little bit taller than 5'6".
He is that. He's also now a father of two.
Yes.
He and his wife welcome their second baby. I think a baby girl. So a little blessing in disguise for him. He has to miss this game, but he gets to spend a couple extra hours with his family.
Yes, and he didn't have to miss out on that Lions Thanksgiving game that we were kind of calling for him to be missing out on because of the birth of his second child. But congrats to the Anzalones.
Yes.
Another little blonde baby running around Ford Field.
Could be a future linebacker.
Great. Maybe he'll be a linebacker
It is a girl.
down the road.
It is a girl.
It's a girl. Maybe she'll be a linebacker down the road.
Who knows down the road?
Detroit Lions support women's sports.
Yes, they do, and we're gonna switch over to our pessimistic and optimistic here before the Lions head down to play the New Orleans Saints. So I'm gonna get into my pessimistic to kick things off here.
Kick it off.
4th and takeaways, 2nd and interceptions. That is the New Orleans Saints. And I don't know how well that's going to stack up against Mr. Jared Goff at this point. He's showing flashes of his previous likeliness of interceptions that he had before he came to Detroit, showing some flashes of it. And I'm a little bit worried with how the Saints have been performing in terms of those interceptions and takeaways. Hopefully those drills really are going to come to fruition in this game.
No, that Paulson Adebo, I'm not kidding. He's a cornerback who's really good for the Saints. I think he has 4, or he might have 3, and Tyrann Mathieu has 4. But those two really patrol that outfield for the New Orleans Saints, I'll say. Paulson Adebo's turning into a lockdown cornerback, but when he can play alone on an island, he can play man coverage, which the Saints like to do, a product of Aaron Glenn, that allows Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, despite being up there in age, just to float around that outfield, go find the ball. And Tyrann Mathieu's playing well again. Another good season out of the vet.
Terry, what is your pessimistic for today's game?
My pessimistic is that what we've seen the last 2 games, that's who the Lions are. That they peaked. That, they came out, on fire, but they can't go any further. And that the Bears game and the Green Bay Packers game, this is just who they are now. That's the pessimistic thing. That's a little fearful thing that I have in the back of my head.
Yeah. I'm pessimistic. Although I'm very excited, or I'm glad that this game is happening now. I think I'm pessimistic because the personnel on defense, just man for man, they're not the most talented defense. They are going to rely on Aaron Glenn in this defense to make adjustments, make changes, do creative new things to put the guys in better spots to be successful, for Aiden Hutchinson to get more sacks, or the guys opposite Aiden to get to the quarterback and finish, get him on the ground. When you're defensive coordinator versus offensive coordinator, that can get tricky. I have faith in Aaron Glenn, but it's not like the talents are going to go out and win one-on-ones just because it's Sunday now. They aren't on that level yet. There's still development needed. Is this coaching staff, is Aaron Glenn, are they strong enough to make those adjustments, make that development in the middle of the season? I'm glad they're playing the Saints in this game, coming off the Packers game, because if there's any game to figure it out, it's got to be this one, right?
Right. You know what else is a blessing in disguise? This is not a division game.
Yeah.
Correct.
I've had to go in the locker rooms for all these players. The Packers, Bears, Lions, Vikings, they hate each other. And I'm sure a lot of this, what we saw with the Packers and Bears, is like, these Lions are not that good. We're going to bring these assholes back down to earth.
They made
And
them
I
look
don't
like
think
it.
there's going to be that with the Saints. Saints don't know who the Lions are.
No.
They're just another opponent, going to try to win, do the best you can. But there's not going to be that, we want to screw you guys and devour your season. But there's a lot of that in this division, man. These dudes talk to players from other teams. They're like, man, we hate these dudes.
They all hate it. Bears, Packers,
They
Vikings.
don't hate the Lions as much because the Lions have been the team that you welcome to your stadium, you knowing you're going to win.
Stat
but
game.
now it's like, oh, they think they're good? No, they're not. We're going to show them and bring them back down to earth.
I like this comment from Big M in the chat. I don't trust the defense. AG, please prove me wrong. I mean, this is the time for him to prove everyone wrong. He's going back to the Saints.
Yeah.
I think he has a little bit something to prove here.
I think we're making too big of a deal about the defense. Dan Campbell put that defense in bad position. He even admitted that.
Yeah.
In essence, when you talk about the way a defense is supposed to work in the NFL, if you put the ball, if you put your defense in a bad position where they got it only 25 yards into the end zone, they're going to give up points. They're going to give up a touchdown more than likely. But the way the defense works is you don't really stop anybody in the NFL. You got to take the damn ball away.
Yeah.
So chances are, when I'm starting at my 25-yard line, I'm not going to take the ball from you. I'm going to try, but chances are you're going to score a touchdown. So when you look at that last game, the defense essentially gave up 15 points. Dan Campbell put him in a position to give up more points. I think we need to focus more on Dan Campbell screwing with the defense. The defense wasn't that bad.
No.
Did they sack the quarterback? No. Did they give up a few more rushing yards than they normally do? Yes, but nothing outrageous. I think we're going down the wrong path. We need to find out, why was this defense taking the field at the 25-yard line, the 23-yard line? Why did this defense have to keep coming back on the field at the Jared Goff fumbles?
Yeah.
So I think we need to focus more on the offensive line, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, because the defense wasn't that bad. NFL is set up. You can't stop people anymore.
Yeah. I agree and I disagree with you. I do agree that, especially in this Packers game and the Bears game, Dan Campbell didn't put the defense in the best position for success. But when you look at your reasons for what the defense need to do, takeaways, you look at what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell did this offseason, bringing in Emmanuel Mosley, bringing in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, expecting more out of James Houston, who's been injured. Those are guys that help you get takeaways. C.J. Gardner-Johnson actually getting them, and Emmanuel Mosley being that Paulson Adebo type of cornerback who locks down the top receiver, in this instance Chris Olave, allowing Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker, Brian Branch, CJ Gardner-Johnson, all these guys to float around and force those turnovers. So I'm with you and I'm not with you. Dan Campbell can't put him in that situation. They did better than people are talking about last week, considering where Dan Campbell put him in, but without a pass rush, that weakened secondary due to injuries, they're out on islands a little too much, and that worries me. It just does.
Let's get to our optimistic. We're sticking in the negative a little bit too much. Let's bring it around.
Yeah.
And on a positive note, what is your optimistic for today, Terry?
We had a 20-game stretch where the Lions were probably one of the top 2-3 teams in the National Football League.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't they do that again?
Yeah.
Why can't they eliminate the turnovers? And when you look at things, you have to do one thing. Eliminate the turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
When you eliminate the turnovers, they win. So that's why you can be optimistic. They will return to that team that was 16-4 if Jared Goff keeps his mitts on the ball and passes it to the right people.
Yeah.
That's the one thing the Lions have to do. They eliminate that, everything's good.
And you're good.
And I think we're going to see that today because the reason I'm optimistic is strength on weakness. The Lions' strength, their offensive line, that run game, going against the Saints' run defense. They've got some decent edge rushers we talked about, but that run defense has been very, very weak all year long. So strength on weakness, I think they can control that run game. They can control that up front, and that leaves that much more time for Jared Goff. That allows him to do the play, to use play action more effectively. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be a big game for Jared Goff, and he's got to take care of the ball.
My optimistic you actually touched on earlier, Matt, with the kicker. New Orleans did not have a single touchdown last week.
Good point.
If that's not a reason to be optimistic, I don't know what is. That's all I have to say.
And he's questionable. He might not play. We'll see. That makes a difference. We see,
it really does.
We see what happens when Riley Patterson missed that extra point. What was it, the Bears game or it was the Packers game?
Yep.
Missed extra point. We didn't see him the rest of the game. Like,
No,
it changes your
not.
mentality if you're not confident in your kicking game. And I don't know who their backup is. Maybe they are confident. Most NFL teams don't have a super reliable backup kicker, so we'll see. It's a big thing.
All right, with all that being said, let's get into our Woodward and Main Street score predictions. And drumroll, please. There they are.
Boom.
Right up there on the board. I am
close.
going with
We're all
Lions
pretty close.
at Packers. 27 to
Saints.
20. Saints, my God. I did it right on the graphic. Let's redo this. Ready? Lions at Saints. 27 to 20. Lions win.
I like it. So we're getting a field goal, those Saints. Or missing an extra point.
You never know. You
Yeah.
never know what way the cookie will crumble. Matt, what is your score prediction for today?
My prediction is the Lions win 27-17. Their offense is rolling. I think they get back in a rhythm, but they don't blow the top off it because I think they just start handing the ball off to David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs once they get a little bit of a lead. And New Orleans, Derek Carr just doesn't have the firepower to get him back in the game. I think he turns the ball over 2 or 3 times, and we see a little reverse there.
Terry.
I'm sure I believe the Lions have worked on trying to create turnovers. This is not just a case of where the Lions are turning the ball over.
Yeah.
They're not getting turnovers. So I'm sure that's
Great point.
that's playing on them. Now the other thing is, I guess since New Orleans doesn't have a kicker, I should have said 24 to 21.
Yeah.
Because they can't kick a field goal, or 24 to 14.
I think you guys are maybe expecting, and he misses an extra point. They
Sure.
get the third
That's it.
touchdown. Yeah.
I took, I guess, a piece now that I'm looking at this. I took a piece of, I picked your Lions score and I picked Terry's Saints score.
Right?
We're thinking too much
I don't say
alike.
much.
We are. This is getting a little weird, guys.
Spend too much time together reading each
You know what
other's
that means?
minds.
That means we're family.
We are family. Okay, and that is a good sign that the show should be ending because it is close to time. Well, not really close to time, but it's coming later today. Lions football here on Woodward Sports at 9:30. You'll be able to catch the Lions pregame show, so tune back in for that. We'll be back here on Tuesday recapping what we hope to be a Lions win, because a Lions win is always much more exciting to talk about than a loss. And I didn't say that last time, so I may be a little superstitious, and I'm going to throw that in there this time. That's all for today. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster. Have a great day, Lions fans, and we'll see you here on Tuesday.